Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Friends, this Saturday we are continuing the Mahamalunkya Sutta from the Majjhima Nikaya, the middle length discourses of the Buddha. Last time we discussed the three lower fetters that bind us to samsara, or existence in the world, the cycle of the cycle of rebirths, and how their eradication will result in attaining sotapanna, or stream entry. Now, when we eradicate, totally eradicate, not just suspend, but totally eradicate these the three that we discussed last time, that is the adherence to rites and rituals. Then there is the other greater one of thinking that there is a self here, the belief in a self, and doubt. These three fetters, if we totally eradicate, we can attain stream entry. That is the first spiritual attainment in our journey to liberation. Today, we hope to discuss the next two fetters, namely sensual desire and ill will. These are also very strong fetters, the weakening of which will lead to the attainment of sakadagami, or state of one's returner. Now let me explain that a little bit. That is, by the eradication of, you can't eradicate, I'm sorry, by the weakening of these two fetters. Now, at this stage, we can't totally eradicate these two fetters. So, by weakening them, that is ill will and sensual desire, we can attain the state of one's returner. That is, we only, if we are able to if we are able to weaken these two, we will be able to get only one rebirth in this world. We will not come back again and again. The total eradication of these two can be done at the third stage, that is the non-returner or the anagami stage, right? We know that there are four paths, four ways of liberation. First one is stream entry, which we talked about, by eradicating those three fetters. Then today we are going to discuss the next two fetters, but though we can attain the next path, that is the sakadagami or the one's returner stage, we cannot eradicate these two, sensual desire and ill will. Only at the third stage, that is when we eradicate, we can eradicate these two, or we can get rid of them totally at the third stage, that is when we attain anagami or non-returner. You understand? So now I thought of a simile. Now let me tell you this simile. Let us imagine that we are standing on the beach where we see the waves, the ocean waves dashing on the shore. But we just watch it, from the beach. We just watch it. The sun has cast its rays from the edge of the ocean right across, and the water is glistening with its radiance. Then we slowly go towards the waves and just wet our feet. This is like the beginning of our spiritual journey towards liberation, where we start practicing the Dhamma. Now we are all of us doing the same thing, right? Practicing the Dhamma. The sun is very far, but we take a few more steps into the water, watching the sun, right? The sun is very bright. We may have reached the stream entry stage at this time. Now, our aspirations to swim across the ocean towards the sun becomes firm, and with our arms and legs, we start swimming. The sun represents the Buddha. Now, we have earnestly started to practice the Four Noble Truths. Finally, our quest is over and we reach the sun. That is, we attain Nibbana. Do you like that? So, now it's time to see how we can put this into practice. The next fetter is sensual desire. At this stage, we can only weaken this fetter, as I told you earlier. But let us try. All human beings desire happiness through different means. They don't all use the same means, but different means. These could be addictions. Example, for food. Some like to have tasty food, or sex, or power. Now these politicians, they like to have power. Now that's also, they think they can be happy. Or fame. Now there are certain people, actors and actresses and so on, who like to have fame. So, some of course want possessions, wealth. Then there are others who take to alcohol and abuse their body. So, in this way, many, there may be many other things that people like, thinking they can gain happiness. We could even call them these things that we talked about as universally attractive objects. Now the Buddha says, this is a gatha in the Dhammapada, as rain penetrates an ill-thatched house, so lust penetrates an undeveloped mind. Now, what is an undeveloped mind? When the mind is taken up with lust for form or body, after meals takes pleasure in sleep, lives the spiritual life in order to get rebirth in deva worlds. There are some people who do good and, who do all kinds of things, hoping to be born in the deva world, has a shackled mind, filled with sensual thought, or ill will, or harming. Now these people, such people, now all these things are not with one person. Different people are different. Dwells suffering in this very life. If they have any of these things, they will be suffering in this very life. This begins with the sign of beauty, seen in a figure, you see, in a person, you see a sign of beauty and grasps it, remembers it, then longs and desires to have contact. By switching attention away from the sign, one could abandon it. It need not be only a body, it can be a car, it can be a house, it can be anything, right? So, but if one has latent desires, you know, there are some people who have brought these desires and, you know, wanting, longing for things, wishing things from their past lives, right? That is what we mean by latent tendencies. So, if someone has this kind of latent tendency for pleasure and enjoyment in general, you know, not only for one thing, but in general, it becomes a deep-lying, intense quality that is difficult to satisfy. Then it's very difficult to satisfy such people. Though one may think he or she is in control, really, one is the slave of craving. So, that is why people go to war, put down others, trying to get ahead. Even in offices, you find there are certain people who try to cut down other people and then try to go forward, you know. So, when consumed by sensuality, there is no peace, contentment, or a sense of completeness. You know, you always think there is something lacking. There is something wanting, which you cannot get. Quite often, people are fascinated by dreams of the future, and these desires can become disturbing forces and isolate one from others and prevent one from becoming mindful in the present. You see, so becoming mindful in the present is one of the most important factors in meditation. So if we cannot be mindful in the present, we will always be thinking of the past or the future. So therefore, this kind of looking for happiness in things is also one such thing which makes us not be in the present moment. We will be dreaming of the future, what we can get, right? When the mind starts planning, expectations and hopes make confusion and anxiety in the mind. So it's always good. I mean, people should have, you know, wishes to improve oneself when you are studying, to pass exams, to get a good job. Those things are not bad things. But always, you know, if you have confusion and anxiety in the mind, you will never be happy and contented. We would not be following the Buddha's instructions then. That is, the Buddha has said, not reviving the past. That is, not bringing the past into the present. Not hoping to be in the future, thinking of only the future things, you know. In future, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get this, I'm going to, you know, that, like that kind of thing. So, not reviving the past, not hoping to be in the future, but instead with insight. Insight means with wisdom. See each arising state, that is, what happens in the present moment, that is the arising state, right? Not craving after past experience, not setting one's heart on the future ones, not bound up in desire and craving. That is what Buddha has said. One forgets that our life is temporary and all relationships, friendships, etc. can be snatched away at any moment. If we build a more strong, lasting happiness by performing acts of generosity, kindness, compassion, without craving, it will be one's refuge and satisfaction and give meaning to our life. Abandoning our preoccupation with sensual desire or in worldly tendencies, we could gain freedom to devote our energies to more mindful and unselfish activities like meditation, study, service to others, or fulfilling precepts. Lay people have only 5 precepts. Some people can't even keep those 5 precepts. It's not easy to give up our wants at once, but we could train our minds. Now, for instance, when we think, now during the day, how many wants do you have? If you count and see, you will have at least 50 wants during the day. Now say, you think, I want an ice cream or a cup of coffee. Now we could say no to that. I don't mean now early morning you might want a cup of coffee, that's a different thing. But during the day, how many people drink 2 or 3 cups of coffee or 2 or 3 cups of tea or some other thing? Again and again and again, you just fill in the body with these things. And when you get that want, if you can say no, right? Little by little, letting go of such wishes will teach our minds to want less. Instead of gratifying our senses, we could choose things wisely, right? Be wise enough to choose what we really want and not just anything that the mind tells us. If we think of impermanence and that even our objects of desire grow old, get worn, or we'll get tired of them, or lose them ultimately and experience disappointment, the delight and desire may decrease. If you think of it earlier, actually, the time left, whether you are young or old, in life is much shorter than we realize. So there is no time to waste. Don't waste your time. Let us be like the Buddha by giving up greed and not collecting more and more things. When you try this out, you will see how different this happiness is from worldly happiness. This is turning away from the 5 senses. Instead of acquisitions of material things and unwholesome thoughts, we replace them with wholesome ones and our minds with good actions. This has to be done in our daily lives and also while meditating. Not only when meditating, but even during our daily lives. There is another kind of desire which is praised by the Buddha. Now see, desire can be a good one also. That is what the Buddha calls Iddhipada. Now let me explain that. The Buddha says, whoever, O monks, has missed the four roads to power. Now this power is not the mundane, local, worldly power. He has missed the right path leading to the extinction of suffering. But whoever, O monks, has reached the four roads to power, he has reached the right path to the extinction of suffering. Now let me explain these four things. What are the four roads to power? Now the Pali words are these: Chanda, Virya, Chitta, and Vimansa. Those who know a little bit of Pali, I'm sure, would have heard these words. They are called Iddhipadas. The word pada means feet, pada, right? So, Iddhipada, that means, Iddhi means miracles or psychic power, right? So, now let us go into it a little more in detail. Chanda, that is the first one, means the desire to obtain, attain, reach, fulfill, or accomplish. Now, all these words mean the same thing almost, but there are many words to tell you what Chanda is. Chanda means to, desire something, to want it, and to obtain it, to get it. Now, this is an excessive desire. Now, you might think, what is this? Earlier you said sensual desire is not good, but this is a different kind of spiritual desire. A very simple simile is, now I'm going to tell you a simile, right, to explain this, is the one about the three friends who went looking for flowers for a celebration. They entered a park where they came upon a big tree full of fragrant flowers. But out of their reach, they were very, very high up. They couldn't reach them. Now, one boy bent down for another to climb on his back. Now look at that. How generous, isn't that so? But he was not steady. The one who climbed up onto the back of the friend was not steady, wobbling a little. Now, the third one offered his shoulder as support, right? So, now he has the shoulder to support him, and now he's on the back of the other friend. And standing on the back of one with the other shoulder for support, he plucked as many flowers as he wished and offered at the celebration. You see, so they were able to get enough flowers for their celebration. All three boys had, what are the things that they had? They had energy, effort, concentration. Now, without concentration, this boy would have fallen down, right, from the back of the other one. And the will to strive. They didn't give up, thinking, oh, we can't reach this. They didn't give up, right? So that is what we also should do, right? Never give up, but strive. This desire cannot be stopped or stilled by anyone if you get this kind of desire. Now, the second one that we mentioned was virya. Now, virya or energy is also known as sammapadana. I'm sure you might have come across this word sammapadana in the Noble Eightfold Path when we are dealing with that. Now, what are these four kinds of effort? To prevent unarisen evil states of mind from arising. Now, see, all of us have different states of mind. Some have more defilements than others. Some don't have certain defilements. So now we must have the energy to prevent, not to allow whatever bad things, bad thoughts, bad, unwholesome, unskillful, evil thoughts that, they are called defilements. Those defilements, if they are not there in our minds, do not let them come in. Now, certain people are very, they get angry very soon. But there are others who don't get angry. So, such people should not allow anger to come to them, right? Whenever a situation arises also, they could prevent the anger from coming. So like that, whatever evil states of mind that are not there, to prevent them from arising, those that are not there. To abandon evil states of mind that have already arisen. Now there are some people who have certain defilements. So what should we do? To abandon them. Those evil states of mind that if we have them, see them and let go of them. That is the second one. Then the third is to develop wholesome mental states that have not yet arisen, right? So to abandon evil states of mind that have already arisen, to develop wholesome mental states that have not yet arisen. If you don't have them, to, make them come up. To, if you are a stingy person, to give up stinginess and be generous. If you are an angry person, if you get angry at the slightest thing, try to give up that thing and then develop the opposite of that. That is loving kindness, right? Then the fourth one is to perfect wholesome mental states already arisen. If you have good, skillful states of mind in you, to make them more, to develop them more. That is the fourth one, right? So now that is the kind of virya or energy that we could develop. Even if faced with difficulties like lacking enough rest, food, and sleep, and has to keep long periods of concentration, staying away from friends and relatives, some people who start meditating will never be discouraged. They will go on meditating, hoping to attain some kind of attainment in this life itself. Now the next one is chitta. Chitta or consciousness is accompanied by effort and a great attachment to iddhi, to the psychic powers. There is a great attachment. Chitta means consciousness. So such people's consciousness is very much attached to these psychic powers to attain them. Venerable Mahamalunkya, you might have heard of him. He was the second chief disciple of the Buddha, and he practiced these iddhipadas to attain great psychic power. He was the foremost in psychic power in the Buddha's dispensation. Now, the last one in this series is Vimansa. Vimansa or investigation or Panya, it's also wisdom, is knowledge and wisdom that sees the suffering in hell and the round of rebirths. You see, so such people, they understand that life in this world, however much you may have wealth, you may have everything in life, but still it will all come to an end. And if you have not done good things in this world with the things that you had, you may not get another good rebirth. So there are people who understand that there is suffering in hell and also the round of rebirths, and understand the benefit of Iddhi. Such people are known as people who have Vimansa. Such a practitioner will not see any pleasure in worldly pursuits. So, when we consider these four powers that are activated by desire, we see that desire for spiritual goals is not harmful. Now, so you can see that there are two kinds of desire. One is the desire for these material things that are around us. The other is spiritual power, or to purify the mind, to make your mind a better place, right? Now, the fifth fetter. Now, this is all about the fourth fetter, that is sensual desire. Now, the fifth fetter is, in this Samyojana series, is ill will. Ill will. Now, under ill will, you'll get anger, conceit, and comparing oneself with others. All the bad things that you can think of come under this ill will. So, in the numerical discourses, the Buddha says, possessing 6 things, one dwells in suffering in this very life. Was possessing 6 things. What are the 6 things? And also with distress, anguish, and fever. And after death is reborn in a bad destination. So the Buddha says, if one has these 6 things, that person will be suffering while living here, and also next go into a low or bad destination. Now, what are these 6? Sensuous thought, thoughts of ill will, thoughts of harming, sensual perception, perception of ill will, and perception of harming. So you can see the 2 things are sensuous and perception. That is sensuous thought and perception, right? So the thinking and the perception can be about 3 things. What are the 3 things? That is, first one is about sensuous, sensuous desire, then about ill will, and then the thought of harming. These 3 things are in your mind and your thoughts and your perception, the way you perceive things. Whenever you come across something, you perceive it in one of these 3 ways. So, sensual desire and ill will have both opposing tendencies. For sensual desire wants things, while ill will does not. Can you see the 2 are widely apart? Both are mental energies, right? They are both mental energies that hinders our mindfulness and freedom. If one is spurred by the fetter ill will, that hostility will appear as dislike, waiting to hurt or attack, right? Now, if one has this this kind of energy, this kind of desire, then you wait for a chance to attack. This person's mind will be always full of pain and anger. Such a person is never free from anger and pain, and their energies will be always directed towards revenge and finding fault. When we hold on to the fetter of ill will, we do not see its never-ending quality of continuity. It will continue again, for a long, long time, sometimes into the next birth also. It wears out anybody and even disrupts one's meditation. The moment we let go of ill will, by seeing it as unbeneficial, there comes a great relief and sense of freedom. We cannot heal ourselves by dwelling in the past. We may have done wrong things in the past, but we have to, not think about them now. Now do good things. We heal the past by living fully in the present. The attachment to past pains, anger, resentment, etc. makes them more solid and impossible to unfasten. You cannot get rid of them then. You go on adding more and more. All this is just energy, thoughts, and feelings. And when we nurture them, they grow inside us. By focusing on a problem, we cannot find a solution. But by shifting our focus and accepting whatever it is, there is the problem, accepting it, we will see more clearly and be able to find peace and joy. For just over the past mistakes, we take away the joy from the present moment. By thinking of the past mistakes, we take away the joy at this moment, the present moment. When one is faced with ill will, anger, criticism, comparison, etc., it's better to go inward. See what your reactions are. If you also feel anger, then you are no better than your opponent. Think of it as an opportunity to give dana or self-control and also patience to the other. You see, you are giving these two things to the other person as dana. Think of all the harsh words as impermanent and empty of any solidity. Later, you may feel joy and happiness because you did not identify with this fault finding or take it as a judgment, but just let it go as empty and valueless. We have to accept the unpleasant fact that people will misunderstand, ill-treat, and may even wound us. At such times, if we can release, let go of our sense of self, that I or me was affected, it will be easier to send metta or loving kindness towards even your critic. Nahi verena verani sammanti da kudachana. Averena cha sammanti esa dhammo sanantano. Said the Buddha. Hatred never ceases through hatred in this world. Through love alone they cease. This is an eternal law. We could have faith that they will inherit their own karma. The person who is, being critical of us, they will inherit their karma. And we do not have to be the judge. For the one who received the greatest benefit is oneself, right? By not getting angry, not, showing ill will towards that person. Aversion or ill will is not always due to a personal attack, but a delayed flight or when stuck in a traffic jam. See what our reactions are. This is not getting what one wants, said the Buddha. If we pay mindful or wise attention to whatever situation we have to face, we'll be able to let go of the unpleasantness and not make it a fetter. Sometimes the fetter of ill will may suddenly appear while we are meditating and disrupt it. Then we can bring all our inner powers like mindfulness, compassion, altruistic joy, impermanence of all beings, etc., and let go of the fetter. This action may create joy and happiness within us so that we may reach jhana stage in meditation. See how we replace the unwholesome with the wholesome. As meditators, we know how difficult it is to give up these defilements. But if we use our energy and effort sincerely to uproot these negative tendencies, our attempts will bring the desired results. In this life itself, we'll be able to gain stream entry and once returner. Thank you. So, if you have any questions, please ask.
Bhikshuneen Mahansa,
Yes.
What is the name of that sutta?
That is called Mahamalunkya Sutta. I brought the Majjhima Nikaya also in case somebody asks about it. It is this sutta that is called Mahamalunkya Sutta. It's number 64 in the Majjhima Nikaya.
Majjhima Nikaya. Mahamalunkya
Close
Sutta.
to Malunkya Putta.
Okay. Mahamalunkya Sutta, right.
Malunkya. That is the name of the person.
Okay.
And in this, the Buddha says that if we, all the time we always think that we have to, practice the Four Noble Truths. But in this, Buddha says, remember that you can attain liberation by practicing the giving up of the fetters.
Okay.
The lower fetters only, the 5 lower fetters.
Okay.
If you want, I will read it out to you.
Okay.
With the destruction of the 5 lower fetters, he becomes one, due to reappear spontaneously in the pure abodes, and there attain final nibbana, without ever returning from that world. This is the path, the way to the abandoning of the 5 lower fetters. Okay. That is the Buddha.
Okay. 5 lower fetters and other 5 upper fetters. So there in Pali there are 2 words for those 2 kind of fetters. 5. So
Yes,
can
they
you?
are called, now let me see, Orambagya, Udam. Orambagya. Orambagya are the lower fetters. Orambagya.
Okay. Okay.
The 5 higher fetters are Uddambagya.
Uddambagi, Orambagi and Uddambagi. Okay,
Right.
lower fetters and higher fetters.
Higher
Okay.
fetters.
Okay. Uddambagi, Orambagi.
So how about, are you ready for meditation, or shall we skip the meditation for today? What do you want to do?
We can do some meditation, Aya.
Yes, I think we can do.
Okay, we are not, we don't do for a long time. So therefore, I think we can do a little bit of meditation, right? Good.
Yes.
Now, all of you know that the first thing to do is to make your posture. Be ready now to, right. Take a few deep breaths now. Right. Now I'm going to tell you something. That is, there are 5 ways of noticing the breath. Now let me tell you the first one. That is the breath at the nostrils. As it moves in and out, the wind in the breath causes a certain sensation. You feel that it is, going in when it touches the nostrils. So you can get the place where the air touches your body. So that is how you first start with the concentration on the breath. That's the first one. To get the focus of the spot where it touches your body. Then the second way of getting to know the breath is by counting the breaths. Sometimes it might be helpful when you start counting, say from 1 to 10, the in-breath and the out-breath both as 1, then the in-breath and the out-breath 2, like that you continue up to 10. That's the second way of getting to know the breath. Then the third way of getting to know the breath is by using a word, like say, now in the Mahayana meditation, they use the word Buddho. Bud with the in-breath, and with the out-breath, Buddho. 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 You don't say it with the mouth, but we think it. That's the third way of seeing the breath. Try it a little bit and see. Then the fourth way is to follow the in-breath into the body. How it goes through the nostrils, up the nose, then into the throat, then the lungs, and finally in the abdomen. See how it goes inside and then comes out in the same way. Now the fifth way of noting the breath is to see the sensations that you get that is connected to the breath. Now when the breath goes inside, you feel happy, you feel contented, you feel as if secure. Then when the breath goes out, you feel a little insecure, whether it will come back again. Can you see? So that is those are the ways in which you can look at the breath. Then there is another thing that you can see, that is, always that the breath goes in and then it goes out. That means it is impermanent. It's not permanent. Once you take the breath in, it will not stay there. If the breath is impermanent, our life is also impermanent. It's always a new breath that comes in. The old breath goes out. That is not permanent. So these are the things that you can think about the breath. Okay, friends. Thank you for coming, even though it is a festive occasion. And Christmas is, after all, celebrated by everybody. So thank you for coming and listening.